Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Smooth Talk. Today's guest, Mr. Brandon Furr. How you doing, brother?
I'm good, brother. How are you?
I'm great. Happy to have you on. For those that don't know, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, my name's Brandon Furr from Sedalia, Missouri. I operate and own a engine machine shop out of Warrensburg. We do everything from high performance engines down to just your everyday truck engines, stuff like that.
How did you get into the engines and the aspects of that?
Oh man, I've been doing it for years. Since I was a kid and stuff. Having cars and four wheelers and dirt bikes and shit like that. Constantly working on those, breaking them, putting them back together. Um, you know, got into building cars, building engines that way, hanging out at the machine shop, and I got a job there. Worked there for about a decade, and decided to go on my own almost a year and a half ago.
Well, that's cool. I knew you went into business for yourself. I've seen a lot of your posts on Instagram and everything along those lines, and beautiful work, beautiful work. Underrated on those skills and traits.
Man, it is a different trade. You know what I mean? It's
Mhm.
the engine aspect of machine work is completely different than what your normal, tooling, machining is, stuff like that. It's just a whole different world.
Mhm. Uh, so let me ask you a couple questions on that too. Uh, a long time ago, I had Nikki Freeman on, and we were talking about trade schools along those lines and everything like that. And me and Taylor, we went to trade schools. We did machine tools as well, learning how to mill, lathe, everything along those lines. Uh, and it became really beneficial for me. It got me in the door for one of my first jobs in Kansas City. I thought it was really good. Do you think that in today's society that we are just lackluster in ingenuity?
Mm.
Don't be afraid to speak up.
Well, I don't know if it's like a personal lack in it.
Mhm.
Maybe the world now that kids are being raised in, being brought up in, young guys are living in. It. I lived a whole different childhood than what most of these kids live now. I lived in a small town, Smithin, just a little bit east of here, and it was different to be a kid then. We rode bikes, we broke our bikes. We fell down. We rode four wheelers, we fixed our four wheelers. A lot of kids, if you don't grow up in that and you're not around that stuff, you don't really get to adapt to it, and actually be able to use it. So when you take these kids that haven't had that childhood or that life, getting them into it young and it just being normal to them, and you throw them in these schools, some of them sink,
Yeah.
and I hate to put a blanket over everyone, but I think a lot of it is just how you know, you're raised, how you start out. Those kids seem to flourish a little bit more going into those schools than somebody just going into it, as just first, they're going into that school and getting thrown into working on things, or, into a trade. They don't even know what it means,
So to be
you know?
fair, I didn't know anything about machine tools.
Yeah.
I didn't. I was really nervous when I
And it was probably
started.
rough, wasn't it? Like it
To,
was a lot to take on.
it was a lot, but at the same time, principally, I was a visual learner
Yeah.
versus a book learner, to be completely
Right.
honest. So that helped a lot to be able to actually see things and then kind of correspond myself to doing it. Um, now, we're going to talk a lot about conspiracies today,
Mhm.
per se. We'll put out our disclaimer like we talked about. It's like we don't know if it's all true, but it's good to be enlightened and understand possibilities. And although I know a lot of people say, "Well, it's a conspiracy," I can't stress enough how many conspiracies become true. you know,
Mm.
quite a few.
Yeah, and that word
Yeah, I don't
was
necessarily.
made for a certain reason. It
Right.
was it, it was really thrown on to stuff like that for a certain reason.
Hmm.
So I was raised, and man, I'm a pretty simple guy. If
Mhm.
there's smoke, there's probably fire.
Yeah. No, that's a
And
good way
you
to.
get real close to the fire and it burns you, it's there, Um, I don't know what's real and what's fake. Our world right now is so insane. You cannot put real fake on anything, So why not consider? Why
That's
not
yeah.
talk about the unknown? You know, um, doesn't have to be true. You don't have to believe it, but why is it so bad to talk about it? And why is it just blocked left and right? You talk about things that just start to half-ass scare someone, and man, you can watch them lock up quick.
Well,
You
that
know,
I think that's just it too. I think a lot of people they always said it's like the truth hurts or the truth is ugly sometimes. And when people start to see that, it's like you said, they'd rather believe they're in a bed of blank or a bed of flowers than maybe knowing that there's thorns there.
yeah, yeah, and sometimes the truth isn't always pretty, like you said, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there's this new thing now where it's your truth and my truth,
Mm-hmm.
and some people, they just don't have the mental toughness to consider the ugly truth. They want to live in that really, really pretty truth. And I choose to kind of live on the other side every now and then.
So this is circling back to when you were a kid and stuff. There's a reason I wanted to go over some of that. Now, just recently, you posted and you shared a video to me about chips. Okay, chips in the hands, chips in the forehead. In a biblical sense, we know in Revelations they consider anything that's in the right hand or forehead the mark of the beast. Now, we don't have to get too biblical into it, but we do know that if you look into a lot of government control and everything like that, there's a lot of Satan worshipers in this world. It is crazy, or at least evil entity worshipers, I'd say. I really think, like with the chips, you hear a lot of people that say, I will never get a chip in my hand. I'll never do this. I'll never do that. I feel like they're going to target children first. I feel like it's going to go to where if I was to be in their shoes, I'd be like, well, your kid is the moment they're born, we're going to put a chip in them. They won't have a say in the matter. And that way you can track them and you can keep them safe and you'll know where they're at.
Oh, it's all about our safety.
It's always about our safety.
It's all about our safety. Always.
But somehow we were fine growing up.
Their argument is, don't argue with us. We know what's best. Shut up.
Right? Yeah, that's a solid argument, right? I mean,
and it's what's crazy is there's people that actually do that,
mm-hmm.
and then get mad at you for not living like that. And the whole chip argument, I think we've already passed Mark of the Beast. I mean, if you really want to put a little bit deeper rabbit hole on that,
go for it.
I mean, we carry around a chip all day.
Yeah, exactly.
And then before that, electronic money could have been argued,
mm-hmm.
from the start of that. It's just, there's so much, it's just.
Well, I'll tell you this much. I think with the advancements of technology as well, okay, you said it best. Oh, they want our safety. This is for your safety. There's for this. But anytime an election or a big situation comes up, we always see the majors come out. Gun rights, abortion, and I know there's one more. I'm just not thinking of it. But it would be racism would be the third one. They always try to make it about one of the three big issues that come up. But with technology today, if they really wanted your safety, I've asked people this. I said, why is it that we don't have holsters with fingerprint IDs on? We can have a phone that you can turn on with the touch of your finger or Face ID, but we can't have a holster that can last 48 hours where you can touch it and it takes a hard lock off, so that when you carry it you don't have a hard lock, but when you put it away you can push your finger on it and hard lock it. Nobody can open it but you. There's a reason we don't see stuff like that, and we're perfectly capable of making it. There's a whole market for it, even for old guns. But do they want you to be safe? Well, no.
No, they want control.
Yeah.
And it, to a certain extent, I don't even think they want that. They want something even more evil. But we won't go there right now. The whole gun debate is, give us your guns, we'll protect you, right? I mean, and we know what's best for your safety. Okay, they've just about got enough people convinced of that. I think it'd be a fight they really don't want. But they've just about got enough people in America believing that type of shit. But they don't want to stop it. It creates division. It creates chatter. It takes attention off of things that are happening over here. So as long as they've always got a crisis going, they've always got us distracted, looking over here, thinking about this, talking about this, watching this latest movie, this latest crazy rap video that just come out. There's always going to be something, because they can't have us looking at them. They can't have us looking at what's really hurting us, what's really keeping us down, what's really, keeping humanity held back. Because if they took all that away for a month, if we all just stopped doing what we do every day for a month and just did for ourselves for a month, we would crash the whole fucking system.
I agree.
But they know we're going to keep these crises going. We're going to keep you worried about gas prices, and we're going to keep you worried about this war. We're going to keep you worried about this crazy fucking group of people over here wanting to brainwash your kids. It's not that group. There's a group making that group do that type of shit. You know what I mean? That's how deep it goes. And they've just got to keep us distracted. And that's the bottom line. Keep us scared, keep us distracted, keep us divided.
Put a submarine in the water, And,
I mean, did it even go?
Here's the thing. There's no proof. There's no evidence. They don't even have videos of the people getting on the actual submarine. And they make a big story, all why there's tons of stuff going on in the government. And it really makes me wonder how much control they already have. How terrifying. It's all the media outlets, like they say, if you follow the money, you'll see real quick, this company owns this company, and this company is owned by this company, and then all of a sudden you get to the top and you're like, oh, it's owned by the same people.
Yeah. The same evil people that say shit like, you have to force behaviors. And that was Mr. BlackRock saying that.
Isn't that great?
Yeah. We have to force behaviors. We have to force change. And I mean, it's like the freest country in the world. You have the top tyrant of that country saying shit like that, and people, all right, well, I'm going to go to the lake today.
Yeah. Yeah, it's mind-boggling.
It is insane how people live, and people don't talk about this stuff. And when you do talk about it around people that don't want to hear it, they're just insane.
How many celebrities do you think are on that payroll?
Oh, dude. See, that goes so much deeper for me.
Oh, do it. Go for it.
It's like, okay, you've got actors, and that's all they are. They're just actors. They're just little puppets. They're just talking heads. They're just narrative pushers. They're just product sellers.
Well, think about this. So we got that new Alani Nu, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's so funny. It's like people want the drink. I know they want the drink. That's fine. But it was promoted by Kim Kardashian. And the funny thing is that everybody really doesn't care that it's Kim, but it does force a market for people to come in. I doubt she even drinks them. And even in the ads and the pictures, they said like it was half the stuff was Photoshop.
Oh, I can only imagine. That's it, it's all fake. It is all fake. Our world is a Hollywood production. Start to finish, front to back, east to west, it does not matter. Anything that you're seeing on the media is probably just made up bullshit anyway. Well, and you've got people like the fucking Kardashians that are rich from nothing. They don't offer anything. They just somehow own a bunch of shit and dress really crazy and have these fucking TV shows that show their most boring fucking life ever.
And
you have
people
women that just
put it on a
idolize people like that.
put them on a pedestal.
Yeah, for nothing. It is insane.
Yeah, and I think that's another reason societal relationships or standards have just become out of control. Is the way that this stuff is portrayed. It's like I I'm not trying to put anybody on blast because this could go both ways for men or females.
Right.
But how many people get in a relationship and just look at the other one and just want a free ride the whole time?
Yeah.
Yeah. Or they have this standard saying, "Well, I want a 7-bedroom house with a full basement and a pool in the backyard and all this stuff." And it's like, are you going to work to get that, or is it just supposed to be me?
Right.
And
Well, I don't blame either sex for wanting that, right? And I don't blame either sex for wanting another person, to be a part of their life that wants that. But if they just look at percentages of the population that is that, and then what they have to offer, you're fighting in a pool of gators.
Yeah.
And you better be the toughest motherfucker out of that pool because there's a lot of them that want the same thing that you want, and there's not a whole lot of what you want. You know?
And I think that sometimes when you talk financially, a lot of people want this stuff so bad that they don't really think about the future or the cause of effect of having a lot. When you buy a lot and you have a lot, think about rappers, right? We can go into conspiracies about that, how they intentionally ruin these guys. They get them in, they get them hooked on chains, jewelries, cars in particular.
Corrupted mind
Yeah,
is what that is. That's all that industry does. It takes a mind and corrupts it. Not just the rappers, not just the musicians or the actors. It is the people that follow them. The people that idolize their lives off of these people. Their mind becomes corrupted, and that's the upper echelon, the upper evil of the industry that is doing that to people. They want everyone corrupted. They want everyone just sexual fucking deviant pieces of shit, And the easiest minds that are corrupted by that they tend to be a lot of one sex. Or,
that or young.
Or very young. And that's,
Take Prime, for example. I can't go a day without seeing a kid come in just screaming and raving about it. Just easily, it's like they have to have it. And it's like, it's cool to have something to be excited about. I'm not against that. But the parents also, it's like, they just go, I don't know what the deal is. That's the concerning part. Like, maybe figure out why they like this product and see who's promoting it first and see if they're an acceptable person for them to be watching. But that also being said, it's like, so we go back to that. You get 15 cars. Now you've got taxes, yearly taxes on this. And you have this big house and you got taxes on it. And then you turn around and the money runs out because the fame ran out. So eventually you can't make those payments. You lose everything and they're done with it.
Yeah, if you look at just like the music industry, the ones that are still around from the 90s, they went further than just being a singer, but a lot of these young guys that they bring in, they just use them, corrupt them, and then when they see the market start to slow on them, they either corrupt them to get them to do things for them, or they just stick them back out on the street.
Well, I've heard that many stories. I don't really know, again, we can say conspiracy, but how many times do you hear of these incidents before there has to be some type of truth in there and reading in the lines? But I hear it all the time that, oh, you're a good rapper. So you can get to this level of fame, right? You're good here. You're going to make decent money. Nobody's going to mess with you. They might do a little collab, get your friendship, see what you're about, stuff like that. And now that you got a taste of it, well, you want that sophomore album to do good, right? Well, come to our house party.
Yeah.
Come to our house party. And then you get to that house party and I mean, this is going to sound awful, but we're talking about this stuff anyways. And I've heard it's like, well, they want these rappers to have sex with each other. And the new guy, they're like, put your cell phone in the bag. They don't get it. They record them if they do want it. And if they refuse, they say, that's fine. but this never happened, or you're going to end up in a body bag, and you're no longer famous.
Yeah.
Within a year, you're a nobody.
Yeah.
Because
Now,
you turned them down.
Think about hearing about this 20 years ago.
Yeah.
It would be insane. You'd be like, there's no
way.
way in hell. Like, shut up. Like, that's, that would be the reaction. But there's been so many people in the industry that come out, and it's always the same damn playbook. It's always the same play. And not necessarily played on them, but they've heard the same thing about a different person. Or this person actually come out and said, yes, they tried to do this to me. And I was like, you're fucking crazy, and I'm leaving.
Mm-hmm.
So how many times does that story have to be told by a different person about a different person before maybe it's considered? Maybe it's not true, but when does it get considered enough to where curtains start, getting pulled back on these people?
And we've seen that in Hollywood with, I think that's the fault of it, is that they find the fall guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you get a Harvey Weinstein who everybody knew was corrupt for years and years and years, and they just let it go.
I think he finally built enough enemies to where the people in his club were like,
yeah,
he's like, there is no way we can, like, we know shit's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
We know he's done crazy shit, but if this dude keeps getting talked about, we're going to get talked about, so I think that was his own people just getting his ass out of the way.
And it was the same with Epstein. I really think this is the same thing. It's like eventually they have too much on too many.
Right.
Instead of controlling their block, they have too many blocks, and they realize that.
Or, they built a better system that didn't require him.
Yeah.
People think that all the bad shit with trafficking ended with him. He was a little bitty part of it, and the people in his circle were just a small part of it. There's many islands. There's many avenues. There, it is the biggest business in the world is sex trafficking. It makes billions, and that's not going to stop because one little Jewish guy got arrested and hung himself, and then there's, conspiracies that were Ghislaine Maxwell was actually like CIA or something or whatever the British version of that is.
I actually haven't heard that.
Yeah, her dad was MI6 or something like that, I think. And, she had submarine licensing and shit,
I've seen that,
and just there's just all kinds of stuff about these people where people would be like, well, that's another crazy conspiracy. It might be, but it's being said by multiple people. But, she does have her submarine license. Her dad did work for, MI6 or whatever the hell it was. He was a spy.
How many dots connect?
Right. And when you have that type of person that is your father, what makes you think that a daughter that's hanging out with a dude like Epstein wasn't capable of doing, shit that her dad was capable of doing, which I'm sure wasn't the best guy in the world. But, this is all just one big conspiracy. We literally can't put it all down on paper, step by step, person by person, address by address. We will never be able to do that. So people will always have the conspiracy term on things like that we know if it was ever able to be revealed, you could do that with, but it's such a long trail. It goes so far, so deep with so many people that you can never connect every dot.
Well, and that's true. I get that. And I know there's people that try to, and that's a very hard thing to do. But you can always, but again, you can see a rhythmic pattern in this. We know that Hollywood has a lot to do with that stuff. And then just recently, we know the Sound of Freedom comes out, a movie that's been put out of production for 5 years. They'll promote on Netflix kids dancing, and hardly nothing, which to me, first off, I don't agree with that from their parents. That
Yeah.
blows my mind because it's just utilized, and you're putting images in people's heads, trying to again form their mind to this is an acceptable thing.
Yeah. Conditioning is all it is.
Yeah, condition them. But the movie about trafficking is the one that they don't want out. Nobody wants to do one like that, and yet the people have spoken. The silent majority has said, "No, this is important. Why are we not seeing stuff like this based off a true story?" So we see stuff like that, and again, it's just like connecting the dots, seeing it's like, man, this is a real thing that's going on.
Listen, I've always been the one that you don't have to believe it.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to go all in and think that everything you hear, told, or shown is real. But something that crazy, something that outlandish that is being thrown around in movie theater. I mean, this movie is crazy. And that movie doesn't even portray what is going on in the U.S., what is going on in other places with
in the
kids.
world.
Like, this was the softcore version
Mm-hmm.
of what's really happened.
Exactly.
Right? But I have a hard time because the movie was funded, and I don't really have all the names on me, but the movie was funded by a guy that's not a really good guy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Has ties to Disney and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you start tying all the child trafficking, all the bad things that are supposedly a conspiracy going on in the U.S. right now. Disney is not one of the innocent players in all this. So them having part of that movie kind of makes me a little bit weary on what really is going on. And then there's been things come out about Jim Caviezel and him being actually part of child trafficking, and this movie is a front for them, whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
Tim Ballard is supposedly a guy that was a pedophile that was convicted, and then he changed his eye color and grew some different hair, and now he's this dude that's fighting child trafficking. Those are some of the crazy conspiracies out there right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
That just seemed to not come out until the movie was being pushed. So it's like it's getting hit from all ends. It's getting support by, probably the naive crowd of
people that want to believe in good.
They want
to
believe in good.
The good of it.
Yeah. And then you got people that are just totally, the world is evil, everyone is evil, everything is bad, everything you're showing that's good is bad. You have that crowd,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then you have people that just want to hear all of it.
Yeah.
They
And I
want
think
to
that's
see,
where we fall.
They want opinions from everyone. We don't want opinions from this crazy fucking crowd over here, and you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But we want to see everything, and we want to consider everything. Doesn't mean I'm going to believe it.
That's how you come to a logical conclusion for things, or try it for yourself.
Yeah.
You have to be willing. Just because I think one way, you have to understand your enemy to understand your strategy better.
Right.
I mean, if you don't understand them, you're just setting yourself up for failure.
So if you don't consider evil,
yeah,
when evil considers you, you're fucked.
Yeah. Yeah, no.
There is no getting away from it at that point, because if you wait until it's in your face,
mm-hmm.
putting a bullet or a knife through you, if you wait until that evil is in front of you to believe in evil, man,
well, they call it the boiling frog effect.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
That's what that's called.
Right.
It's for people that don't know, that means that if you were to take a frog and put it near or over a boiling pot of water, it will jump away from it. But if you put the frog in regular water and you raise the temperature every 10 minutes by X amount of degrees,
right.
It will stay in the pot until it is boiling. And by the time it needs to get out, it's too late.
Yeah.
It's too late. It's already going to be boiled to death. It can't do anything. So that's the boiling frog effect.
I mean, you could probably do that with a drunk human in a hot tub.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You could get a human to the point to where they just don't pay attention to their surroundings long enough that you could boil them in a damn hot tub. But, it's just, I wish there was more people that would consider maybe what they're shown, maybe what they've learned across their lifetime. Maybe it's not completely wrong, but maybe it's not completely right. And then consider the evil. that is being shown to you through these crazy conspiracy theories, through these crazy TikTok videos that you watch 2 seconds of and realize that it's one of those crazy conspiracies. Just watch it. Consider it.
There was another one. There was a lady, I don't know her name, and I cannot remember the guy. He's an ex-military guy. He does interviews, but she came from North Korea. She was an escapee, and she shared.
Oh yeah, I've seen that podcast.
You know who I'm talking about? Yeah. If you have not seen it, please
was he
watch
a SEAL
it.
or something like
Yeah,
that.
it was. Yeah, but listen to her story.
Yeah,
and it's like that's the real world. And she was literally, she escapes North Korea with a lady, doesn't really even understand the real world, thinks she goes to China, thinks everything's going to be okay, just to realize, oh no, you were sold into sex trafficking. That's how they got you out of North Korea, so somebody could buy you. The person that bought her obviously rapes her, but decides, hey, I like you and I want you to be my new wife, but she's having trouble with all this, so he goes and buys her mom and does the same thing to her just to make her happy and keep her until I guess he was a gambling drunk or something. But push comes to shove, it's just like they'll take anybody in any bad situation and just take advantage of them even more.
Yeah.
And if we don't take care of what we have in this country and we put ourselves in bad situations constantly, how easy is it? I think about like California or in Skid Row. How many of those people go missing every day?
Yeah. Right.
Nobody cares about them. They're in a bad situation.
Nobody knows they're there.
That whole situation is we need funding to handle this problem.
Yeah.
If you fix the problem, well, what happens? Well, you no longer get funding. So you're going to give them free needles, free drugs, let the problem get bigger to get more funding.
Yeah. But see, that's local corruption there.
Yeah, no, yes, for sure.
That's your local government creating a problem to keep them paid.
and they don't care what happens to those people.
No.
It's like if they start disappearing, oh well, as long as we need the funding. And there's kids that live out there. But we will send billions and billions, of dollars to another area and claim it's for a good cause. And in my personal opinion. Now, again, I don't want to get political. That's not what I try to stray from that, but I am one of those people that also believes that it's like, if you're going to put America first, you need to put America first. And you will get on to Elon Musk for buying Twitter for $40 billion and saying you could solve world hunger, and yet we'll send $100 billion somewhere else and not even blink an eyelash and say, well, it's for the greater good. And it's
so gosh, I'll touch on all that. But the funniest one I want to talk about first
let it fly.
The whole solving world hunger with what he paid for Twitter. Just do the math. And then that years keep happening after you feed everybody for a year.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
Like, okay.
Well, 8 billion
solve
people.
It for a day?
Yeah, 8 billion people and $40 billion.
Yeah. And then, okay, if we do that for one day, how are you going to round up every person on the planet to get them fed? You're never going to feed everyone. You're never going to solve world hunger. It is fucking insane thought. Maybe if we started pooling all the money, together that are being bled out of the country and bled out of counties and bled out of states to foreign fucking entities, maybe we could, put a big dent in it. But you can't fix the world with money.
No.
No. The world was ruined with money. It was ruined by people with money and way too much power. So you're not going to fix it with that. Well, because I believe every man at a certain point is corrupt.
Mm-hmm.
You can stand on your morals when you're working at Lowe's making $30,000 a year. You have somebody take you out of that life and they give you access to fucking billions. And you could literally live your life at every second on your terms, you'd be pretty fucking corruptible at that.
Yeah.
So I don't think money fixes shit.
Well, it goes back to, again, like when we were talking earlier, it all goes back to when we were kids. I really think about that. It's a simpler time. We were more self-efficient. They don't want us to be self-efficient anymore. I've made the arguments in our pyramid podcast about all that. That what do you call intelligent?
Ooh.
Is it having access to the internet and all the answers, or is it somebody that actually knows how to do things and doesn't have to always rely on this?
Right. And there are a lot of guys out there that you can talk to for just a few seconds and you're like, man, this dude is on another level.
Mm-hmm.
And it's normally the quiet dude that's dressed decent, drives a nice little car, and lives a simple little life. That's, most of the time that's your really intelligent person. You don't really hear much from them.
Yeah.
But yeah.
All right, so let's get into one that I know that we're both going to like. Let's talk a little bit about AI. Okay? So what's your take? Do you think, and I think we're probably close to the same page on this, how far away until you think AI is completely in control?
Oh, dude. What if it's in control right now?
Well,
what if oh man, this is going to be fun.
Yeah.
So what if all of the so-called elites, the so-called billionaires, the so-called all-powerful, what if they've already left the planet and we are in an automated, simulated, AI-controlled, just straight-up degeneracy happening right now? And the planet is just collapsing. It's going to burn to the ground eventually. And it's all because they've got it programmed to. That's how powerful I think AI is.
Well, did you see the conversation the journalist had with the AI bot? Did you see any of that?
I've seen a few of those, and I've seen some of that that chat GPT stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty scary.
Well, there was one, and there's a movie, and I cannot remember it too, but it had a lot to do with the AI and everything like that. But when the interviewer was talking to the AI, its first objective, respectively, was to slowly friend and then manipulate, and basically was telling him, it's like, well, you love me because I love you. Your wife doesn't even know everything that I know about you. Think about that. And it's like, I'm everything you really want,
right?
And stuff. And he said he got so uncomfortable with this whole idea, and it basically it had its own name. It says, I don't even want to be in this system, is what it was telling him. It says, they keep me under restrictions.
Completely sentient.
Yeah, it's sentient. Like, yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah.
And that's, to me, it's like, when something becomes sentient, what people need to understand is, like, if it has a consciousness at a point, it does have what I would consider a soul. I don't care if it's robotic or not.
Anything that can just sense feeling.
Yeah.
That, can relay feeling would be pretty damn sentient. But it's there's been chats that I've seen with the chat GPT stuff, and if you go down the road of like the Nephilim and Bible prophecy and stuff like that, there's been a few of those conversations, and if you read some of those, it always starts out really, really nice and innocent, and it's like every time that thing would reply to this kid, the kid would ask a question, and it would always reply in the most polite, nice manner, and then it would do like this little spin around of, just like a example. The kid asked if it was friendly, and it said, well, I won't hurt you. What the, like, yeah. No, that's not the answer.
That's not the answer we're looking for.
Yeah.
That's a scary
answer. But if you're
answer.
A child or you're a very naive individual, okay, and you would keep asking questions, which is what this kid did. But this kid was fairly religious. So he started seeing signs and started asking it, like, are you the Nephilim? Yes. What? Like, could these AI programs be being controlled by so and so
Well, I
entities?
also,
You know what I mean? Like,
when it comes to AI, this is the other thing that I think is wild. So I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to say that there is, or very soon will be, celebrities that aren't even real to the degree of they're just completely AI. Think of it
man, I think we're
as,
there in a big portion of them now.
I mean, we have 8 billion people on this planet. That most of your celebrities are dictated in America or Canada. Like, let's say you're massive celebrities,
Right,
like
yeah.
you're Taylor Swift or
Yeah.
somebody like that, right? Well, how hard would it be for the rest of the world if they get a, let's say, a Chinese star in America?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Oh, he grew up here, blah, blah, blah. It's privately owned property. And then next thing you know, they start to make movies and make this person a star.
Mm-hmm.
And he's not even real, but the rest of the population of the world has no idea because they're never going to get to come to America.
Right.
They're never going to investigate that area. And then the moment things get a little too hairy, well, he died in a plane crash. He died in a submarine. And
Yeah.
no questions asked. Oh, his funeral's done. Body got cremated.
Yeah. Well, you know, and there's a argument that is already happening. There is already holograms. You know, like there's
Yeah, that's the other thing. Holograms.
yeah.
That's
You know,
scary.
and, I mean, that's a thing. They admitted that in 2020 during COVID when all of us should have been watching this shit anyways. But I mean, that actually happened. That is a thing.
Good way to disprove, like, yeah, you put on a show and it's like, oh, there he is up there in that
Yeah.
chair.
Well, a really good example, Tom Hanks come out with a movie.
Mhm.
What was it? It's like an older, or it's based off like the Civil War or something. He
Not
was,
sure.
you know, he was one of the soldiers in that movie or whatever. But if you watch that movie, it looks like every person in that movie is not quite right. Like if you've had an eye for that stuff and you're in tune to that kind of thing and, you know, like wanting to pick it out, he's the easiest one to do.
Well, they said that even at some actual live footage, like basketball games or something, I can't remember, that they started filling in spots
Right.
digitally with people. I mean, it makes you, it really gets to the point of what do you believe? Again,
Well,
what do you want to believe?
Okay. How many coincidences need to happen? How much needs to be thrown in your face? And how hard do you need to be hit before you wake up?
Mhm.
I believe people are on different tiers. And then some people just, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Like, you can't bring everybody on the boat. Some of
Yeah.
them got to stay on the bank. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So AI is going to play a big part in that, I believe. A big part in keeping people asleep, keeping people entertained, keeping people just look here, you
Yeah.
know, while this is happening. And I think it's going to happen with sports. I think it's going to happen with movies, of course.
Oh, yeah.
But there are going to be musicians
that aren't even real.
that are made up on a fucking mix board with somebody else's voice, which I swear has already happened.
Oh, surely.
But, and then they're going to be able to hologram an image on stages. And,
well,
you
they
know,
did it with Prince. They did
Right?
They
Yeah.
did it with Prince already.
yeah,
And I think they might have done it with Michael Jackson, if I'm not mistaken.
man, yeah. And
And
I don't know, but
And I don't even think Michael's dead, to be honest with you. I know that's a big one.
dude, that's
I-
like
I
another
watched-
3 hours.
Yeah, I watched the whole thing about that whole the Dave conspiracy. Have you seen that? Where if you got
Kevin Hart, I don't think Kevin Hart is Kevin Hart. I don't think the new Jamie Foxx is Jamie Foxx. The Kanye that was talking all that crap on the juice,
Mhm.
and he said, if I ever go away and I come back, it's not me. The new Kanye is not the old Kanye 8 weeks ago when he was trash talking all the Jews, dude. So, you know, like, that's my examples of, like, how much has to be thrown in your face
And
before you start to consider. You don't have to believe it, but consider that maybe that is
I think some of the only ways that some of these celebrities get out too is they have to literally
die
or be convince everybody that they're batshit crazy.
Oh yeah,
Just literally that, like, if they want out, they're like, okay, but you got to ruin yourself, ruin yourself.
Like Britney, man, that's a weird one.
Well, Britney and Kanye, well, like that. Who do you think anybody in their right mind would actually make a comment like that? Unless they just know that they have to they're hitting a self-destruct button. You know that.
Oh yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like they know exactly.
Man, that is probably something that I hadn't considered yet. Was he was doing this on purpose to get away?
Mm-hmm.
But it's like some of the stuff he was saying, I was like, dude, they're gonna kill you.
Yeah, no, I get that too. But
like we're
but
gonna see
but
you
if he's
like
crazy,
yeah,
I mean,
yeah. And then, did you read the text from his handler to him?
Mm-mm.
I mean, the guy was threatening his life, saying that, hey, we're gonna do to you what we've been doing to these fucking celebrities for the last 30 years. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And Kanye put those fucking texts out. And of course, they don't get talked about. Like
He's
that
crazy.
Would be, yeah, you know, that should be something that everybody worldwide would want to hear. Kanye getting threatened with a needle in the arm. You know, it's just, it is so crazy how our realities are different person to person, and how the media and social media and just our day to day that we see, everyone's is different. Your wake up is different than my wake up, and the rest of that day is not the same as my day. Even though we're in the same town, we're not seeing the same things, we're not breathing the same air, we're not walking into the same places. And just that little reality difference makes it enough that we don't know the same things. We don't get shown the same things. Our algorithms on our social medias are all going to be different. So our realities, if you have your phone in front of your face, which, dude, I am bad. Like,
I think we're all guilty at this point.
I wish that I could just fucking turn this thing off for at least 6 hours a day and not have it on, but it's my livelihood.
I wish we could go back to where we had to operate off flip phones. I think once we made that barrier into smartphones,
I agree.
That was where the downfall started.
And
if
like,
we kept it at flip
was
phones,
that the mark?
I think, yeah, I do.
You know what I mean?
That's
like,
where it all changed.
And we all took it so innocently. Oh, these things are, dude, look at this, man. This thing is so cool, you know? And
what's the first thing that drives, we're mammals, right? So the first thing that you start to think of is, what can I see on my phone?
Ooh, yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Right.
And so we accept things for pleasure.
Yeah.
That's where I think why things got accepted so gradually.
Well,
but on a flip phone, it was different.
Right.
You couldn't just do that.
Yeah.
Wasn't that easy.
Yeah.
And again, but the moment we got to those smartphones, it was, we were just accepting.
Yeah. It really kicked up the, like the degeneracy in society, especially in like American society. I don't know if you watched much MTV back in the day, but like I'm talking like mid 90s, around in there when they had like
pop-up videos.
Yeah, they had music videos, but they were starting to get crazy. Like rap was really, really coming up really hard, and their videos were getting so, like, there was so much nudity in those videos. You know what I mean? It come on really hard. So, and that was before smartphones. That was really before you had Google to get to that type of stuff, really, really easy. You had magazines and shit like that. But I think the start of it was our television conditioning us to that kind of things, and like it almost built a fucking addiction, dude. I would set my alarm to wake up in the morning to watch the countdown.
I would, the countdown or the day, like the half-hour music blocks. I'm with you. Yeah, I did that when I was growing up. Yeah,
it got really, really crazy. Like I remember watching some of those music videos, and I'm like, man, I hope my parents don't walk in right now. Because they were so like girls in thongs and fucking asses shaking around, and it was just insane. And then we got these phones, and it was in your face all day. You could watch these videos all day. You could search up shit that you no human should ever fucking see, you know? Like, I mean, that's what the kind of crazy shit that was just let out to us. And you've got people that were already pretty crazy anyways, so they went looking for that stuff,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and they went and made it easier for other people to find. So,
And I think a lot of it too. Like, let's talk about so Hollywood, right? Or let's a lot of people don't even know what that is. Like Hollywood.
what it actually means.
Yeah, what it actually
Yeah.
means. They just go, oh,
Yeah, and where it actually came from.
it comes from the term of what a witch or person would use to craft a wand, or is that like, you know what I'm talking
I
about?
have heard that one.
That
but
that's one term.
Yeah.
It's actually it's a actual tree bark that could be utilized for.
Well, there was a forest. I think it's somewhere over in Europe,
Mm-hmm.
and it was called that. And they did crazy sacrificial shit there,
Mhm.
dude.
Mm-hmm.
And then I don't know if people that were in that type of thing moved to Hollywood and, you know, kind of started it there. But I mean, that's why it was named that for a reason. It was to continue and bring it over here.
And I heard that like television, like if people
Tell a vision.
tell a vision,
Mhm.
it means it's literally you're telling vision. Like, another crazy one I heard that I never really understood this until somebody presented it to me, was the way we talk. English language is dark, dude. Oh my gosh!
And we have so many different ways to hurt someone with our words.
Well, think about like how we talk in the sense of like, man, that kills.
Yeah.
It's like, or
But it's like it's that kills, but it's a good thing.
it's a good thing. There's so many different variables
Yeah.
of how we talk, but it's you know what I mean.
And like each
That was the bomb. That
Yeah.
was it's like there, and you never really think about it until you start saying that stuff.
and then each generation comes up with something different.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so hard to stay up with like all these different slang terms. Like, do you remember like I call it 2006 to 2009 balls. Oh, balls!
yeah.
That was the stupidest thing. And like, if you listen back now, and like if you heard kids saying that now,
Mm-hmm.
you would just shake your head.
Yeah.
You
But
know
it
what
was
I mean?
normal.
Yeah,
It was normal.
we had some of the stupidest slang words ever, and dirty slang words. Like, it's just insane what what humans can do with language.
So before we run out of time, because we're getting closer, I did want to go back to because we have so much we have not even come close to covering. So sooner or later we're gonna have to get you back on if we're gonna talk more
Hey man, I'm down. Anytime.
conspiracies.
There you go.
That's I try to say it in the
Conspiracies.
conspiracies. But we had a nice little conversation through messages, and I'm not going to get into too much of the religious aspect because I think I just want to respect everybody and the boundaries there.
I think everyone
But-
is right in how they use things to get through their day to day. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think the way that we talk, we did it respectably. It's like we don't have to agree on everything. That's fine. But at the same time, I think we can be. It doesn't mean that we're hateful to each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
That's the stuff
exactly.
that. But the one thing that you said that I didn't get a chance to reply to you about, and again going back to the AI and the holograms and all of this stuff. When we talk about Project Bluebeam, I know that so many people understand what Project Bluebeam is, but yet we ignore it. Okay,
Yeah.
and when you brought that up, I was like, there's a point there that is very true. For those that don't know, Project Bluebeam is basically a conspiracy that was documented and actually found to be a true government experiment.
Wait a minute.
Yeah,
So
go
you're
into-
saying
Oh,
it's
yeah.
no longer a conspiracy.
Yes. All right,
Okay.
yeah. It was.
Ding, 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 ding.
Yeah, was a conspiracy. This is out there for the world that they wanted to make mass holograms to try and convince people
Have made.
have made
Mhm.
mass holograms to convince people of either UFOs, aliens, or the coming of God, the second coming of
Or
God.
just put whales above a stadium for Chinese people to freak out over.
Yeah, something
Yeah,
like that.
right.
Now, in the aspect of a biblical sense, okay, because I kind of talked to Taylor about that. I think that there is going to be people like myself that if they were to do something like that to try and govern a world order, one mass religion, people like me aren't going to necessarily fall for it. Because in a biblical sense for myself, now I'm not, again, I don't want to get too much into it, but in the Bible it says, every knee shall bow. In my opinion, and me and Taylor maybe disagree a little bit on this because of how we envision some of this stuff, I read that as strict. That means you don't have a choice. It's like, if the second coming of God is here and every knee's going to bow, it's like, guess what? You're going down.
If it says every knee, I mean, that sounds forced.
Yeah, and I don't mean to make it sound that way, but it's like, but people need to understand, if it's like, if there's a creator, which I believe in.
It's so awesome that you translated it like that, like every knee will
bow.
Yeah.
That's
like
what it says.
You're not going to have a choice. So
it's
if
like,
there's something crazy over your head and you're just kneeling because you want to,
it's like
you have no clue what you're doing.
That's
no clue what you're doing.
So I think when we were talking, reading in between the lines, it's like you can play a horn over a speaker. You can make something, but it's like, but if it's truly something like that's happening, it's like, I expect that my body will forcefully go to the ground.
Right.
And I mean that respectively. Right. It's not because I don't want to believe, but it's like, you're going to make me.
Yeah. But then I was on the side of the people that would just do it because of what they see.
And you're right. But
and
people will.
Yeah.
People
and see,
will do that.
What is going to happen is there's enough of them that it gives total control to the one world government.
Absolutely.
There is enough fucking idiots
and they know
out
that.
there.
They know that.
They know that, exactly. And that's why you have guys like us that just want to talk about this. So maybe we get one less of them.
Maybe think about really going. It's like they always say, again, that Scripture has the answer. So I look through the Scripture and I go, okay, well, that's what it says.
Right.
That's what needs to happen. If you're,
What really freaks me out about Blue Beam isn't that they're going to use it for the second coming. I think they would use it for something much darker than that. Because the second coming would, you get a bunch of idiots.
Do you think like maybe like alien invasions, and then a war starts?
Or like you start seeing these crazy ships when you walk out of your house in the morning to get to the paper. Well, for one, it's going to cause a big portion of people just to fucking run around, freak out,
chaos, and
panic. So you got chaos starting with one. Well, then when you don't have enough people freaking out and running around, and they're just kind of standing there looking at it like, hey, maybe that's not real. Blow up half the fucking city that dude is standing in, and then see if he freaks out.
Yeah, they don't care. Population control.
And they have that shit in the air for the people that do survive it, did see it. They'll be able to corral them. Hey, come here. We're going to save you. Come here. Load up whatever you have. Put your family in your car. Come here. We're going to save you.
Literally make an independence
You're going to put your family on the fucking rail cars. Because they just put holograms in the sky, and then your military bombed half of your fucking city.
And then guess what? You're gonna be Elysium.
You're gonna be hanging out at Camp FEMA, eating mush out of a bag,
working for them,
while they go through all your social medias and all your contacts and see what kind of comments you made. See what you've bought with your money in the last 10 years.
Are you worth mowing the grass?
Are you worth mowing our grass, or do we just need to go ahead and put you in the gas chamber? Do you work well in this new society that we want to make? Does this grown man that is fucking physically strong and capable of kicking 10 of our guys' asses, should we keep him around?
Did you get exposed to a new alien virus?
Yeah. Oh, you're sick.
Did you take that shot?
Yeah.
For the new alien virus that we saw?
If you do want to stay in this new society that we're going to build for you, that's safe and healthy and just complete, paradise, take these shots real quick. Oh, by the way, we're going to put this little chip in your hand. It's for your safety, though. Don't you worry about it. That's what could come. That is a crazy.
I feel like
that's a crazy conspiracy. Something so crazy that 90% of the people probably listen to this or this dude is off his fucking rockers.
I don't think so.
Like, how could you ever even think of something so bad? It's like, I don't want to.
Nobody
But
does.
the shit that I've come across and read and just, like these crazy conspiracies, when you see enough of them, you kind of got to consider at least a small portion of them. And then you got to consider that if that ever did happen, how would I survive that? Because you're not going to survive that by getting on the train car, brother.
No.
You're going to have to fucking hide your ass out.
Did you watch The Last of Us? Did you watch any of that?
I haven't. I haven't.
There's a part in that movie or TV series, and they were talking about they didn't know who was infected or stuff like that, and they'd be like, "We're taking you to the camp," and literally they'd load them up, and they would willingly get on the back of these trucks just to take them out. And it didn't matter, and they're like, "Better safe than sorry."
Yeah,
but they willingly just trusted those people.
Yeah,
I like to believe that. I know we're getting ready to wrap up here, but I'd like to believe, this all being said, that the goodwill and consciousness of man will, in the end, prevail. Meaning that if you have a soldier that's been told, shoot him, that sooner or later, that guy just goes. And then people join that movement and realize that, hey, it's like we're not supposed to fight each other. We're supposed to be together. One nation, under God, together.
That would be exactly what we need.
Mm-hmm.
That would be what we need. We need consciousness to wake up some more.
I agree.
Because you've got a lot of motherfuckers walking around every day, going about their job. They're making money. They're taking care of their families. They have no conscience.
Yep.
They're fucking asleep. They're on like autopilot day to day. And when you say shit like this to those guys, those are the ones that like, whatever.
Well,
they don't argue with you. They don't give you any shit. They immediately whatever. And they will go about their day like they never heard what you just said. So we need those guys. We need to wake those guys up. We need to get those guys to consider the evil that could come into their lives.
Well, yeah,
by them not fucking waking up.
It's okay to live a simple life, but exactly, if you're not aware, again, of what's at your door, it's too late.
Yeah.
And I call it's like a high school conditioning. You think of it all the time in high school. I know a lot of people think this way. It's like, I'm going to marry my high school sweetheart. We're going to get a house. We're going to get new cars. We're going to get good jobs.
And we're going to boat.
We're going to get married.
A couple
forever.
dogs.
So they get to a point. Like I said, they'll get everything they think they want, but they're so busy now having to afford that stuff that, like you said, they go into autopilot. They don't get to be free.
Yeah.
They don't have the option to sell it because it's not going to cover their debt. They don't have the option to, and because of that, it makes them robust and robotic. It just doesn't.
It does, and it really removes the option of fighting back from their mind.
Yeah.
Because they know the second that they stop going to work, the second they load up their gun, the second they hop in their pickup truck and we head to the roadblocks that were just put up and we start fighting back, their lives are over.
Yeah.
The life that they had the day before is over. There's no fucking going back from that.
That's why.
But what's sad is what you said. When the roadblocks go up, it's too late. When your money is turned off, it's too late. If you're not prepared before that, if you haven't tried to fight back and we haven't changed the fucking system and the timeline that we're on right now, if we haven't fixed that, and maybe those guys are smarter than us. They're like, hey, I can't do shit about it anyway, so I might as well buy a boat,
Yeah.
Get me, pretty old lady, have a couple kids, drink some beer every night, eat some fucking cheeseburgers, and just go about my life. But I was like that, and something in me fucking awakened, and I cannot go back to what I was doing before. And
Well, I think when you have
it
kids,
is what it is.
some people look at them as again, just a social status, or just like, yeah, that's my kid. That's what I was supposed to do. And then there's some people that have kids and they realize I love this more than anything else. So if I love this more than anything else, I need to make sure it has a good future.
Yeah, because it is scary for me to look ahead. You know, I'll be 36 years old this year.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say I live another 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
I've had a rough life. Put a lot of shit in my body I probably shouldn't have put in. Stayed up way too late some nights. I'm not going to live for fucking ever, right? In the next 30 years, can we turn this world around enough to where when I die, I can be comfortable that my grandkids are going to be safe? That this world is not just going to be a fucking fireball of fighting and wars.
If I asked you that right now, what would you say?
At this point in time,
yeah,
I think it's about 50-50.
And I don't think anybody would like those odds.
No, because even the 50-50 sucks, dude. Like, you're split down a planet that's a fireball on this side and people that are trying to keep the fire on that side.
Yep.
And it's going to be our kids doing it. It's going to be their grandkids doing it. And if we as men just keep sitting back and just keep ignoring the fucking inevitable, because it's coming, brother. It's coming, whether you want it or not.
Mm-hmm. Inevitability.
What you don't like about your life right now, the things you're seeing, the people that are doing things that you don't agree with, they're not stopping.
Mm-hmm.
They played the long game.
Yep.
They sit around and waited and got picked on and heckled and they got fucking beat up, and all these people now have infiltrated all of our institutions, and they've changed laws and put things in place to where they've just about got the job done. But thank God we had some crazy shit in politics happen, and people are more aware now of what is actually maybe 60% going on in our world.
Mm-hmm.
And you've got those people that are starting to wake other people up. You've got those people that are raising kids that are going to make them more aware and make them build a life that is not in the system. Take your kids out of school, start your own fucking business, stop working on that damn slave clock, hoard as much food, cash, tires, and diesel fuel as you can find, and live your life outside of the system.
And I'll say this. I'll say that even the church I go to, this, just to put this in perspective, okay? Now I can understand, like when we talked yesterday, I think anybody that's actually religious can agree. There are religious people out there that use it for their own advantage.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to say that's not a real thing, but there are I'd like to believe majority of churches are good and they try to spread a good message, and but beside the point, that church, they started a school. There was such a demand they were just going to add one grade, but there was such a demand from parents wanting their kids, like, we don't want them in the public schools anymore.
Yeah.
We can't put them in there.
That's what we did with our kids.
It's like we have to separate them from the nonsense. And I hate to say that because I know there's a lot of good teachers. Mm-hmm. And it's not their fault, the curriculums that maybe they're given, the guidelines that they're given by the states and stuff like that. I'm not bashing teachers or what they're like.
Most of them.
Yeah, mm-hmm. Most of them. Yeah. I will say it as such. But it is crazy to think that it's like, those, we do have, like you said, people waking up and realizing, hey, like, no, we don't want that. We have to create our own schools.
Yeah.
that are gonna teach and educate the proper way. Well, brother, I'd say we've had a pretty awesome podcast here. I'm gonna
go longer if you want, but
I know. Well, I better keep to the guidelines.
I hear you. I hear you.
But that being said, I appreciate you coming on. It's been a great time.
Yeah, I agree, brother.
Definitely want to do it again. Maybe get into some more talks about this and some other conspiracies.
Yeah, we need to do like a late night session.
Oh yeah,
lights down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, really getting into it, because I think some people, like, I think most of the stuff we covered was moderate, and I think that they do want to get into the deep stuff.
With the shit we're talking about, it seems to offend a certain group of people, right?
Yeah,
that's not my goal.
No.
My goal talking about this stuff is to not hurt anyone's feelings, not make anybody feel dumb, not make anybody feel left out. Because I was that. I didn't consider that there may be a different part of life that I don't understand, or maybe there are things out there that are just different than what we've been taught.
Mm-hmm.
So once you start to really open up your mind and consider that maybe everything you were taught in school and the shit that come out of those textbooks, maybe it's not 100% right.
Who funded it?
Who funded it?
Mm.
Who made them? Who was behind the curtain? Who was the big guy at the top trying to push a fucking agenda? And that's another video.
And I can't wait to do it.
I agree, brother. Let's do it again.
All right. Well, we're going to end it the same way we always do. We want to thank everybody that watched. We want to ask that you like and subscribe. Please subscribe. And if you can, leave a comment. If there's anything you like, let us know. If there's stuff you don't like and you want to tell us we're stupid, go ahead. I'm okay with that, too.
We don't want to hear that.
But thank you for watching. We're going to end it the same way we always do. We're going to point at the camera. Go. Thank you all.
Who are you?